Hi everyone, it's Dani Dot. Welcome to my podcast. Isn't this a long time in the making? So, what do we talk about? No, I'm kidding. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for this. Let me tell you, isn't it just, it's so special. It's so special that so many people thought that I should be doing this. And it's just crazy to think so many years later, I am going to give this a shot. It's kind of terrifying. And let me tell you, I only have a post-it note sitting in front of me that says aim for 45 minutes. Are we going to make it to 45 minutes? I don't know. That's what's crazy about this. How can someone sit and talk to a microphone by themselves? I'm sure we'll get there. Oh, my word. I can't even stop smiling. I'm so excited to do this. Why am I doing this? Is probably a massive question I get, why? Well, I don't see why not. That's the big thing here. It's crazy to think that so many people entrust that I would have a voice for a platform. And I'm the type of girl that would go Facebook Live or do all the strange things on social media and record videos of myself talking to the camera. There's been the odd occasion where I'd sing to the camera. That's fine. I don't do that anymore. But I just decided that, it's not for profit. It's not for anything. It's for me. I kind of see it as a bit of therapy in a sense, because I trust that whatever I talk about, it's a safe space, that it's not going to be misconstrued and it can't be, twisted and warped around or anything, because it came from me. And, I've got such a great support network of people that want to tune in and hear what I have to say. I don't even know what I'm going to say. For some reason, it cracks me up so much that people think that my life has been so wild that I should talk about it. And it has been wild. I don't doubt that. There's been some really crazy, hectic stories that I'm so excited to tell you all about. And even, little wins that happen that I'm just like, who can I tell? I'll tell you guys. So, I don't know. Let's just do it. We'll just see what happens. This podcast is not for financial gain. It's not for professional advice. It's just a platform for me to come and, talk, and we'll see what happens. So, for all the people that aren't familiar with myself, I'm Dani Wilson, aka Dani Dot. I'm 35. I am a very tall brunette female residing in the absolutely stunning Cromwell, Central Otago region. That's about 35 minutes from Queenstown through a spectacular gorge. It's absolutely such a thrill to drive, even when you don't want to drive. And I just think, wow, this is where I live. And I'm at that part of my life where I'm just sort of settling. And I am so excited to just not really worry about the rat race. Just, drink all the wine, meet all the people. I live at home with my mum. I know that seems really terrible as a 35-year-old, but while I was away in Brisbane most recently for 5 years working and living in a beautiful high-rise apartment, my brother built this house. And let me tell you, when Mum announced that she'd brought a section in Cromwell, I had to Google where that was. I was like, where? I don't even know what she's talking about. But we had this family commitment that we were going to, build a house, and that would be the nest. And I think everyone deserves a nest. At any time in your life when you think that, shit's tough, you go back to the nest. I'm just taking the nest for a bit of a ride at the minute. No, I'm kidding. But when the pandemic happened, and I just got back from Australia in November 2019, this nest was everything. It was not having to worry about rent. It was not having to worry about, where everyone was. Me, Mum and Tom lived in the same house for the first time in many years. And I was so content and happy. At the end of the day, I wasn't, fast-tracked and telling you have to pack up your house and move back to New Zealand to be safe from the pandemic or whatever, I was already home. And I had this beautiful newly built house that my brother had just, worked so hard on. I could not be more happier, except for the social side. And let me tell you, 2020 was a ride. I think, I'll come back to 2020 actually, because it means a lot to me, and I'm still at the part where I want to introduce myself. I'm trying not to say heaps again. So I have my mum. I live with her. She's been in childcare most of my life. She is a fascinating childcare teacher. I aspire to, commit to a career such as my mum, because she's done it, just forever. But she's inspirational, and she's done everything for myself and my brother Tom. And moving on to Tommy, I'll come back to Mum, obviously. Tom is, what can I say? He lives 22 steps from his local pub, and he doesn't have a trade. He just does all the trades. And when I told him that I was going to be doing a podcast, his instant reaction was, do I have to be on this? Tommy. You can do whatever you want to do. And his conversation around it was, if he did, he'd probably get arrested, because he actually knows quite a lot of, questionable things. But that's what makes up Tommy. And he's 33 next week on Valentine's Day. So I expect a fair bit of, feedback on saying happy birthday to him, because he's very special. He's a special kid in my life. And then I have two half brothers who live in the UK, have different mum, same dad. So Archie and Matt, they are just, I honestly only see as much as I do through social media, which is an absolute shame, because I wish I could be closer to them. They're funny young men. And then there was Jack, and Jack died in 2020 in March. That was a really shit time in my life. So between me, Tom, Jack, Arch, and Matt, I'm the only girl. I don't keep in touch with my father. I don't want anything to do with him, to be quite honest. I sort of did there for a little sort of smidge in my life. I thought, you know what, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Nah. He is not worth Dani Dot's time. And then there's this handful of maybe brothers from another mother, who I definitely, claim. They know who they are. The ones that, you look at and you think, why are we not related? So I do have a very special support network of different, brothers and mum, and, well, there is only mum. And I do have a very small family in a sense. It's just me, mum and Tom, which makes Christmas super easy, because, we just splurge on each other, to be quite honest, with lots of different presents. And then on the outer circle, I only have one cousin, one actual related cousin, who's, the one that's my mum's brother's half-daughter, I suppose you could say. My mum's brother didn't have any more kids. So then I have my mum's cousins and my mum's auntie and uncle from how, her dad had many, many siblings. And so there was heaps of that, type of family dynamic. But I claim them. So the young cousins are all in Australia, and they're a riot, an absolute riot. So I love them with all my heart, and I wish I could go to more major, family events to see them, but they know exactly where I am, and they can visit me whenever they want. And, I lost my grandparents at a really young age, so I don't really have a grandparent influence. I have one granddad who's actually 80 next week. So I lost my nanas very young. And, it's just, I look at kids these days that don't have time for their grandparents, and it just sort of makes me a little bit upset, because I think you learn a lot from grandparents. I still have a recipe book from my grandma, The only thing that annoys me about that recipe book is there's a recipe for fried rice, which it actually says that each person has an allowance of 2 dessert spoons of fried rice per plate. That stresses me out. Yes, we've come a long way in that sort of like portion control, but 2 dessert spoons of fried rice, oh, that stresses me out. I mean, when I cook fried rice, I feed a village, and I love fried rice. It's one of my favourite things, especially because it's so, there's so many ingredients. It's such a flexible dish. So, again, sidetracked. The family is, not the biggest for Dani Dot, but I hope to one day maybe even marry into a bigger family. There's been conversations around Greek families because they seem to be bigger ones. My granddad, he always said, I should marry an All Black or a Canterbury Crusader, which are rugby players, for those that don't know. And that cracks me up because I think, oh, God, I've let him down. I've let my granddad down because I haven't married an All Black. There's that. So, I am settled here in Cromwell with my mum and my brother, and it is such a beautiful part of the world, so I'm not really too worried about anything else, and I don't, think, oh, what if I stayed in Brisbane? What if I did this? What if I did that? No, I'm happy, and I have this beautiful group of friends here that are all, in their 20s and starting to do things in their life, whether it be have gap years and travel or get married and have babies. And I'm like, listen, go do it. Go do all the things. I'll always be here in Cromwell. I'll always watch out for you. If you ever need a hand, I'll come to you, whatever. Like, not whatever bad, but like whatever. Of course I will do that for you. But Cromwell is my hub. It's my hub. So that's kind of the story that I'd most likely be touching on for the first episode of my pod, just because I feel like I have so much to give in that space. Like, there's a lot of different dynamics, and I've got such great different family members, and who knows, they might appear on the pod because I've certainly got some potentials lined up that want to have a yarn, and that will be quite interesting. So we will come back to the background story on Dani Dot. I kind of feel like it's a big one. So, who are these potentials that might want to be on this podcast? Well, aside from my brother and his stories, I was actually at the pub on Saturday, and a very good friend of mine came up to me and he says, just quietly, I want to be on your podcast. And I thought, that's great. What are we going to talk about? Not that I think I even have an idea on what I want to talk about, but it's, something I just want to ask. And he was like, I don't know. What am I good at? And I was like, I don't even know. So I have definitely got a couple of random people that I would not suspect would want to swing a yarn and be on my podcast. And then there's my beautiful girlfriends that all, have a story, and they all probably have a story about me. And that's probably the scary part, is it's kind of like a wedding speech where someone starts saying this one time, I'll be like, oh, taking the mic off you. Thank you. And then there's also a handful of famous people. I have a few stories about that as well. So I have this tendency to, when I'm drunk, direct message famous people. Maybe send photos as well. I've done that as well. So I have been blocked from a few people. But I think it's really interesting that, podcaster to podcaster, if we could get some people on, or even just random New Zealand celebrities, even Australian ones. Like, pick of the crop for me would be someone like Neve Schulman or even Cammy from Catfish, or I'm obsessed with Ghost Adventures right now. So even the head guy from Ghost Adventures would be a ride. He's really cute too. Am I a believer? Well, I don't know. He's quite convincing. So, I've got a lot of potentials that want to definitely grace you guys with their presence, and that's really something worthwhile. And then, what are we going to talk about in the coming podcasts? Well, it makes me laugh that everyone thinks I have a story. I probably don't, but I can just see a lot of people in my head shaking their heads going, she is such a, cruisy person, myself, who has done just so much random stuff in my 35 years. And like that in itself can tell its own story at some stage. I'm very well traveled. I love news and I'm always up to date on interesting facts or something that's headlining around the world. Like I'm really on top of all those types of components. Are they interesting enough for a podcast, or should they stay on my social media? I don't know. But this is just a platform where I feel safe, and it is what it is. And a big reason behind this is I will touch on just briefly. So in 2020, when I was, deciding for a whole year, I made a goal that I wanted to lose 40 kilos and I was going to apply myself to the keto diet. And because I didn't have any friends and I just moved back from Australia, it was really easy to get into that mindset of like, just head down, bum up. Doesn't matter. You ain't got no friends. You're not missing out on anything. Well, I am a very social human being. I'm a mess when I don't have friends. And I don't know why that is. It's not like they fill a void. I just love, having friends to bounce ideas off, laugh about stupid stuff, just cry when guys break your heart. There's so many things as to why it's important to have friends. And so in 2020, I cried a lot to my personal trainer at the gym. And he was just like, honestly, like, why is this so upsetting for you? It's so funny. So further down the line in 2020, maybe it was November, I actually met another personal trainer at the gym. And I don't even know if I'm even in a position to name names on my podcast just yet, because like, I don't want anyone to like scope them out or anything. You could certainly guess who I'm talking about. And she said to me, you need to meet some chickie friends that I have, so I will organise a dinner. And this was in November. The dinner wasn't until February, so I was still a miserable git for Christmas and New Year's. Like, I should be in Brisbane doing all-you-can-drink events and, living my best life, and here I am in Cromwell with no mates that first New Year's of being home, and I was suffering. I thought, why have I done this? And then I get this invitation to go to a restaurant, and I was so scared. I'm just terrified of what's going to happen? Who am I going to meet? So I said to the waitress as I first walked in the door of this restaurant, I'm here to meet a handful of girls that I've been, it's kind of like a blind date. I don't know who I'm looking for. And they were like, what's the table name? And I'm like, no, I don't even know that. And to be honest, to this day, there was no table name. So the fact that the waitress even got the table right blows my mind. And there was about 10 chicks at this table. No one, people knew of each other, but I really knew no one. And I sat next to this absolute stunner. You can probably guess who I'm talking about. And we hit it off. We were like soul sisters. We've just always known each other, but we didn't. And we've been best friends ever since. And I just think, wow, all it took was that one dinner and it just took off. We had this great dynamic of really engaging, fun friends that wanted to drink and catch up, and all of a sudden my social calendar went bang. I was barely home. I was drunk a lot. And that was kind of scary because I was still new to the area and I didn't know where things were, and I was panicking that if I got too drunk I couldn't find my way home. Probably took 6 months, and the girls will back you up on this in saying that it took me 6 months to feel confident to stay out past 10 p.m. And there was a lot of drinks in that small 6 month window where I'd actually gap it and walk home, or mum would pick me up, and I look back on it now and I'm like, far out. I have no regrets, and it's coming up 3 years, I think, since we all met, and the friend group's definitely changed. It's gotten bigger, it's shrunk, things have happened. Oh, it's wild. I, however, wouldn't ever take that time back. No regrets. We're still close. I just think that everyone's just finding their way. And when the pandemic was on, we obviously leant on each other a whole lot more. And when people weren't coming into the region and we had it all to ourselves and the wineries knew exactly who we were and we were being looked after, yeah. That's why I'm sitting here now telling all my friends and family around the world, I'm not coming to you. You are going to have to come to me, because guess what? It's a riot down here. Like, yeah, I am absolutely obsessed with where I live. And these chicks, yeah, they are some fun ones. So 2020 was hard. And then after I met them all, everything changed. And now I'm just really content with where I live. And I do miss, of course I miss my Brisbane friends, but I know that they will always know that they can come over. I'll visit them. Of course I'll visit them. I won't live there again. And, on to stranger weird things this year. I've got a few goals lined up and a couple of personal things I have to attend to. But those girls, if you're listening, you changed my life. And I hope I changed yours. So that's probably, and there's definitely a couple there that have been full support the whole time to launch a podcast. And yeah, I just think, wow. Even on Saturday night, just gone, I was getting into the courtesy coach after a night at the nightclub. And these random two chicks who were very early 20s, I have no idea who they are. I got dropped home. They were in the back seat. I went to shut the door and they said, "Hey, Dani Dot, looking forward to your podcast when you release it." And I thought, holy shit. What? Not only is my socials like on absolute lockdown from working 5 or 6 years at Vodafone and learning about social media and what you should and shouldn't do, which I can touch on later, but these chicks knew about my podcast and I have no idea who they are. And I just thought, yes, girls, hype me up. Make me feel like I can do this, because right now I'm on the fence again. And I think it just comes down to it's kind of a lot of pressure, because I feel like I am meant to have this really great life story, I suppose. Of course, there's different things that people would cringe at and they'd just be like, "Oh, Dani." I got up and sang karaoke 2 weeks ago with a friend and we sang Barbie Girl, and I was Barbie and he was Ken, and I thought, I'm too old for this. And then there's, the scary parts of it where, you have a fallout of the friend group and you don't know, your mind falls off a little bit with, who can I turn to, who's still my friend. It's not anything to do with me, but you still feel like you're caught up in things. And, I live here. I love it here. I don't want to ever feel like I shouldn't belong here. But when you start to get a little bit older, and that's probably where I am with my mind about things, is that you want to lay down roots and not regret anything. So there's so many components. Oh my gosh. I just am trying not to put pressure on myself and be kind and just, I don't want to go with the flow, because if I go with the flow, I'll fall off. But yeah, and I've got a few questions asking about the love story. There is no love story. There's three guys in my life that have broken my heart. And I'll be absolutely rooted if I ever think I will trust anyone ever again. If I'm really honest in that sense, I shut up shop in the whole ever finding a husband. The joke about Jason Momoa ever coming to Cromwell, well, that's still a joke. But, yeah, I don't know. I can't be bothered with the hurt. I'd rather just do me and, look to the future of all the fun things that I can do for myself and just socializing with my friends and not have to worry about all the things that come with being in a relationship. I don't know. It's too much. I just think I've done everything. And for some strange reason, it's just not, I've never really had that attraction. It's not, I can't change anything. I'm exhausted. And everyone's always oh, she's such a lovely person, beautiful character, great nature, always got so much to give. I honestly am just do they deserve it? Expectations are low, but I can't, my brain's not there. So it hurts me to think that those three have ruined it for everyone, but I don't want to put myself through that anymore. It's terrifying. So here we are, me by myself, Dani Dot, maybe a couple appearances of friends and family. Who knows? It might go global and I might meet the man of my dreams. That's interesting. Especially because when I was in Australia, I was I'm not dating anyone. I don't want to fall in love and I don't want to end up staying here. Mum would have sent the guards. She would have been nah, you're not living in Australia full time. And, I will let you in a little secret. There was a time there where I put my PayPal on my Tinder and got guys to pay my power bills with the misconception that I would send nudes for a donation. Oh, I'm a terrible person. But honey, I was I was on the bones of my ass in Australia. We'll come back to that. But yeah, there's definitely a story to be told about my love life. And it's a scary time, but yeah, I'm just not going to let anyone hurt me. Even if I'm not sending you nudes for freaking power bills to be paid. I'm a terrible person. So yeah, basically I will wrap this up here. It sort of took a turn there near the end where I was just wow, it's therapeutic. I'm in the mindset of talking to a microphone and thinking I'm just leaving an audio note for a friend. I send my bestie an audio note a day, and after a weekend it would probably be 10, 15 minutes. So this isn't anything terrible. It's just strange that it's not reciprocal. No one's talking back to me. So yeah. As far as the first podcast goes, it's been fun. I don't want to give too much away because obviously I just don't know what's going to happen. And I want to make sure that, I don't run out of ideas. I'm never going to run out of ideas, but I don't want to give it all away on the first go and have you all terribly bored. So 28 minutes, 26 seconds. I'm going to wrap this up. If you guys want to give me any ideas or you want to know something more in depth, I have no hesitations in talking about anything, everything. What do you want to know? And I will maybe, make a bit of a plan for the next one so that it's more strategic in what we talk about. But this is just a get to know Dani Dot. Probably I should actually tell you how Dani Dot came about. I'll leave you with this. When I'm, a couple of wines in, for some strange reason, when you get that word in your head and you can't get it out, mine was dot. And I always used to say to everyone, ow me dot, or ow, get off my dot. No one was ever on my dot, but I maybe referred to my bum as my dot. So it cottoned on that I was Dani Dot. And I'm pretty sure I'm in a couple of people's phones under Snapchat and, this, that and the other as Dani Dot. So my brother actually says you need to trademark that because it's kind of quite funny. I don't see it as, well, it is funny. It's funny that here we are 3 years later and I actually have a podcast called Dani Dot. Great. So anyway, going to drop the next pod in a couple of days. Just wanted to make this one brief. But yeah, it's been a ride. Here we go for the ending of Dani Dot's podcast number 1.